ground, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling? Welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he is king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back.
Ooh. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I'm your host. The hardest part of the ring. Holy shit. I don't know if my mic's picking that up, but it is raining its dick and balls off. Of course, Smarty Pants right here puts his podcast set up right in front of a window, so we get to hear all of that deliciousness. Maybe it gives it an ambiance. I don't know. We'll try it out. We'll see how we're feeling. Hopefully, it makes or maybe at least it makes people want to tinkle when they're listening to this. I mean, I always try to make fluids. Slamboree 1996, a WCW vehicle. That's what we're talking about today. A very interesting show, to say the least. And speaking of interesting, so you know how the Apron Bump goes. We cover lots of different timelines, started from the beginning of certain eras. That's what we do here. We started at WrestleMania 10. We're working our way through the new generation, through the mid-90s, into the Attitude Era, or whatever the equivalent of WCW would be. We're doing that, and just chronologically moving through it. And I bring this up because this episode just happens to drop while we are in the midst of the AEW Blind Eliminator Tournament. Tag team tournament. Random partners, quote unquote, and the winner gets, a stupid prize. And a running theme of this podcast that I've noticed in the past, and then I'm going to bring up in future episodes as well. No matter what, because look, Apron Bump, we cover 4 different decades of wrestling. We cover timelines from promotions from all over the world, from national promotions to local promotions in America, local promotions in Europe. Big companies, small companies, we cover it all, right? But it's so funny to see like how consistent wrestling is throughout all of it, right? Through time, geographic differences. The more things change, the more things stay the same. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. You look at what AEW is doing with their Blind Eliminator Tournament, and you look at what WCW is doing here at Slamboree with their Battlebowl. A lot of similarities, a lot of differences too, but we'll get into it. But that's basically, the bulk of the show is this. Has a ton of names. The Battlebowl, the Lord of the Ring tournament. You get a ring at the end of it. You get, theoretically, a world title match, which may or may not actually be what the thing is. But we'll get to that. But 16 teams, all drawn at random. So you get some teams you get some normal teams, but you also get some teams of foes, huh? Right? How are they going to get along, right? How are they going to coexist? You get a lot of that. You get a lot of teammates facing off against each other in certain matches. You get rivals on the same team. Oh, it's just gets a little rambunctious on this show. I don't know, man. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how they're going to get along. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that in the show. It's a lot of bullshittery. This will be an interesting show to grade. I'll put it that way. And by the way, make sure you stick around till the end of this episode where we grade the show and continue the hardest promotion battle of 1996. Where we will not only grade the show, but we'll see if this show gave us any of the best or the worst of this year so far, whether that's in ring, out of ring, the roster, any of that stuff, right? And we'll get more deep into it at the end of the podcast. But that being said, lots to get into with this show. Not only the Battle Bowl, the stupidity, the dumpster fire that is that tournament, but we also get a couple titles on the line. We got the U.S. title on the line, got the world title on the line. We got the Giant, the new champion, the Giant, taking on Sting in a pretty decent match, actually. But we also got the debut of the Cruiserweight title, baby. That's right. Good old Dirty Dean Malenko's here defending against Brad Armstrong. I'm not really coming out of the gates red hot with the Cruiserweight title, but we all know what that would eventually bring to the company. So WCW's on the upswing, I would say. Well, soon they will be. We know because we're in, May of 1996. And we know what's about to happen. Literally 2 weeks after this is when Scott Hall appears. And then we're kind of off to the races a little bit. At least the ignition's turned on. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. Stay tuned and we'll see. But I'm babbling. Let's get to it. But first of all, let me give a shout out ski to my guest, Brett, from the Brainbuster Boys podcast, returning to the show. Had him on kind of recently, but it's just kind of how things fell. It was a while ago. I think we talked about this. I forget if it was when we were recording or not. We were on a live stream together, and at some point he was like, "Hey, you better mark me down for Slamboree 1996." And this is like fucking 8 months ago at this point. And I was like, "Yeah, I got you." I put it in my spreadsheet. And unfortunately, I remembered to bring him back on. So unfortunately for him, because he had to watch this show. But go check out the Brainbuster Boys wherever you listen to podcasts, on YouTube as well. They go live occasionally. It's a good old time. They put their spin on the current product. They get into, obviously, WWE, AEW, the big stuff, but they get into some other stuff too. They do some retro reviews. They get into some Japan stuff, all over the place. So go check them out. All the socials in the description. Do that. Follow me too while you're at it, at Apron Bump on all the social medias. YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, give Daddy a subscribe ski. Even if you don't watch me, even if you don't watch these episodes, which can't blame you. Pretty repulsive, but just subscribe anyways. Hell, just give the videos a like, even if you don't like them. Leave a comment, whatever. Just type gibberish. Put your fucking Chipotle order in the comments for all I care. You know, do what you gotta do. It helps the YouTube channel. Helps the old ABP. I don't like that. But we're do that and then kiss me deeply. But before we do that, let's get to the episode, shall we? WCW Slamboree 1996 with myself and Brett from the Brainbuster Boys podcast.
Dirty with your shit.
Oh man, how's it going, buddy? Long time no see.
It actually hasn't been that long,
No,
really.
It's been too much of you, actually.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm about the same as I was, 2 weeks ago when we did this? It was either 2 or 3 Fridays ago, but yeah, happy to be back, man, as always.
Hey, remind me again, what's a hot Carl?
I think it's where you shit on someone's chest.
Is that what it? Because I thought maybe I think of something else.
Sometimes known as a warm Carl. Maybe that's the shit's not as hot, but
involving. I think it's okay. Anything involving feces, apparently. That seems real. I feel like it's such a specific
too open-ended.
name.
Yeah.
I
always thought it was dumping on someone's chest.
What do you think is your least favorite kink? For me, it's probably pregnant people. I'd probably go shit play over pregnant, personally.
I wouldn't. shit and
Sure.
pee. I'm not into the pee pee poo poo.
Not even a little pee.
Maybe a
little shower.
pee. Just like Jimmy Hart on this one gets a little dribbly on the floor.
Does he? Oh God.
That interview at the end. We'll get there. Yeah, but
dude, what the fuck was the show?
Why the fuck was I so enthusiastically volunteering?
I wish I could. I guess I could go back and at the show we did. I don't know what you said, but you're like, you better put me down for Slamboree 96. I was like, okay.
And I was drunk.
Well, it's the consequences of your actions, I guess, because you had to watch this old show, Slamboree 1996.
Which, funny enough, it was the second time I've seen this in the last year because, and probably part of the reason why, and I shout these guys out, I feel like every time I'm here, is Year of Duke and Rogue.
Oh, they're my boys.
Covering 96 WCW, and they made a mockery of this show. And Teddy Long he managed someone, but they like
not Ice Train.
Who was it?
Some other black guy.
Craig Pittman, Sergeant Pitbull.
Yes, the Pitbull.
Of
course.
But they at some point like, well, this is all tag team matches. Teddy Long's like SmackDown GM version. Teddy Long would fucking love this show. So they kept going, we're gonna have ourselves a tag team match. So like I always geeked out. So I must have like been drunk and like, oh yeah, we could have fun reviewing this show, which I know we will, but yeah,
it'll be more fun than watching the show was.
It was a hot Carl for sure.
Hey, were there any Carls on this show? I don't think so. Carl Gotch, Carl Weezer, nobody I know, but we'll see
Winslow.
As we journey our way through this. But the Battlebowl. Brett, it is is this the first time they did it, or have they done this in the past before this?
I think they had done it before, but I'm not. I know they did it more than once. You know, I think maybe like one of the old Starcades was like a Battlebowl show, I'm pretty sure.
93. It looks like 93 might have been the first one.
Okay.
Oh, they've used it in 91, 92. No, so not only
this might have been the last.
Not only have they done it, but they were like, you know what? Let's do it again because it was so great. It may have been the last. Can't really look 96. Yeah, it looks like 96 was the last, and I can see why because look, I mean, this shows, it was like, what, 2 hours, 45 minutes, something like that.
Yep.
And there's, 18 matches on this card or something?
Ridiculous, yeah.
Because it's, 8 teams? And so the overall concept of Battlebowl, 8 tag teams that are randomly, which, by the way, this is hilarious timing that I ran into the show while the Blind Eliminator tournament is going on in AEW.
Same thing.
So it's random teams. It's a single elimination until it gets down to the final 4 teams, in which those 8 individuals will compete in a battle royal, and the winner gets a shot at the world title at Great American Bash. At least that's what they
allegedly.
Given the winner, I have a hard time believing it's going to be a main event pay-per-view match, but we'll see.
And that winner was homeless 2 weeks prior.
Well, he was homeless, but he fortunately
he's not anymore. But
found a benefactor, I guess. It's very vague. Oh, he's broke, but somebody gave him a lot of money. Now he's not broke. Sure, but I guess ultimately the arc of him is ends up being pretty good. So
yeah. So also one match. I think there's 16 total. One match eclipses 10 minutes, and
I
just
believe
barely.
It.
The main event at 10:41. I just pulled up the card, and that is the only match over 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be. I'm not gonna. Yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna be a 6-hour show, and nobody wants that. So
the other 2 singles matches were close. One was 8.5, one 9.5. But this was a big old hot Carl.
The non-tournament matches felt decently length, I guess, but maybe that's in comparison to the other ones. But so this one will be a little bit of a rapid fire kind of deal because there's not a ton of analysis on each individual match, but boy howdy is there a lot to discuss. But overall, man, just overall thoughts on Slamboree 96. What'd you think about it?
It is not great, but I still had fun watching it. Yeah, I still had fun watching it. Honestly, part of the highlights are Bobby the Brain and Dusty's just banter on
Ooh,
commentary
yeah.
with Shivani just kind of stuck in the middle. That was good fun. Mean Gene is frankly probably the highlight of this show with his antics
Yeah.
with the Hooters girls and
Oh.
he's just top form comedy in his interviews, but like like he's the best, absolutely. And if you've ever listened to the Brainbuster Boys, especially early days, we love ourselves some Mean Gene. We even
Goat.
named a fictional podcast award show the Okerlins. So
Makes sense to
love
me.
me some Mean Gene. Those are the highlights. You know, like we said, the matches, not a lot to write home about whatsoever. But some interesting things here along the way. But yeah, it is not a great show, but it was still a fun watch overall.
Yeah, like, because if we would have done this like right after I finished the show, I probably would have been a lot more negative on it. But I've slept on it a little bit, and I've been kind of looking at everything that happened. Like, look, it was kind of a tough thing to get through. But there were some highs. You know, it wasn't all shit. There were some WCW shows in this era that are just nothing but hot Carls. But this one had some cold Carls.
Yeah.
Maybe a golden shower
Coldies.
here or there. Yeah, I love a good coldie. Cold cuts.
Yeah.
Uncut. But I had something to say. Probably wasn't important.
I bet it was.
We might as well just dive dick first into this bad boy. So we got
Dirty
our
cock first.
Lord of the Ring, by the way, so it's a battle bowl, but it's also the lethal lottery, but it's also the Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
Just throw some more names at it. Maybe
Nice
it'll get
branding.
over.
Yeah, nice branding, guys.
Not King of the Ring. It's completely different.
Or Lord of the Rings.
Oh, was that around it? Was that like a book at this point?
Yeah, the books would have been. They were definitely written by then. I'm pretty sure.
Well, they were written back in Mordor times, right?
Yes. And
That's Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
I get that and Harry Potter mixed up. But speaking of wizards, we got none in this match. We got the Road Warriors. We got what?
What a rush.
How wacky. They're on opposite teams because it's the lethal lottery. You never know what's going to happen.
Crazy.
We got the team of Booker T and Road Warrior Animal versus Lex Luger and Road Warrior Hawk. And commentaries say that this is the first time that the Road Warriors have been facing each other, which I did research and I couldn't find another instance unless you know of any.
No, I would say that's correct, but they didn't even face each other.
What? And so they're building this up like, oh, what a legendary moment. This never happened before. They don't even fucking touch each other until the end and when they hug. I think
this was the worst match on the show, honestly. And that's saying something. Because it takes them it's like a 6-minute match. It takes them 2 minutes to even touch because they're all just kind of standing around. Mm-hmm. You know, the Road Warriors stand on each other's side even. It's like, oh, they don't even know what to do here. And there's just some bad myth. Like Booker T's amazing, but he was not in this match. He whiffed on a couple kicks and drop kicks. But this fucking sucked.
So I'll just throw this in there. So the Road Warriors and Harlem Heat are feuding for, I don't even remember who's the tag champions at this point. It doesn't really matter.
Who cares? Yeah.
But they're the two of the top tag teams, so they're feuding. So there's obviously some dissension. You know, Booker T and Hawk are shoving each other. And there's a whole schmoss. To your point, it's just forever before the match gets underway because it's like everybody's kind of bickering with their own teammates. And then the match happens. Not a lot happens. Like you said, Booker's in there, and he's the most agile of them all, of course, but he's whiffing a few things.
And even on a whiff, I noted that Tony said Booker's kick was right on target. But it certainly was not.
And then the match just breaks down. Teammates start fighting each other. Luger versus Hawk. Everybody's fighting each other. And then it's a double count out because everybody's brawling on the outside. And then the Road Warriors are together, and then
they celebrate like they've won the Battle Bowl.
Fucking idiots.
I've got a couple things noted here.
Please.
First, Dusty at one point is just like, this thing has really started a slower pace, Bob. And then Heenan doesn't say anything. He's just like, Bob. I don't know why, but I thought that was so funny, and that kind of just kicked off like I said, the banter between the two of them where
they had to entertain themselves because there was nothing entertaining in the ring.
Yeah, they were just fucking with each other the whole time, which, like I said, I enjoyed. Yeah, I think that's really all I got. Luger jumped into a clothesline from Animal that looked horrible as well. Like, everything was just off on this. And, like, probably the match with the biggest stars in it, you know, outside of, like, Macho Man and Flair later. But especially once we get to that Battle Bowl, like, fuckers in that, it's embarrassing. So,
not to, like, get ahead of ourselves, but that it felt like a pre-show battle royal.
It is riddled
the finals of this.
It was riddled with world championship material. But, like, these four guys, you know, are four of the biggest names in this, and now they're all just wiped out. And the count out, it was probably like 6 seconds. They were all out of the ring, and then the bell rang, and it's like, okay.
Like, to kick this thing off, it's a double count out. It's like,
it's stupid.
What are we even doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is what it is. But the hits keep on coming. We got the Public Enemy.
Unbelievable. They got teamed together.
What are the odds? I mean, sometimes God's just looking out for these guys.
Very slim.
And who's on the other team? Well, it's none other than Chris Benoit and his murderer, Kevin Sullivan.
I put Team Nancy Benoit.
This was just bizarre to watch, man. Because I think this is before Benoit and Nancy got together, at least publicly.
I think Sullivan was still with her at this point.
Yeah,
I believe, but yeah.
It's, I mean,
pretty weird stuff.
Hey, did you catch where Kevin Sullivan is from? Where he hails from?
I know Kevin Rogue would be able to tell you. I can't remember offhand. I didn't write it. Something to do with the dungeon, of course, but
he's from the Iron Gates of Fate.
There we go. So funny
dildo.
enough, Rogue on their show did a pretty mean Kevin Sullivan impression. So when I recently moved to Louisville, and I noticed that there's a commercial real estate agent in town named Kevin Sullivan. And I see the signs around, and one was an old ass decrepit building. I'm like, there's the dungeon. Holy shit. Or the Gates of Fate, whatever the fuck. But
of course.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Gates of Fate is like a subsection of the Dungeon of Doom.
One would assume, yeah.
I would have to look at an atlas or something, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
There's probably a moat around it.
I think so, with dragons inside of it.
It's hard to get in.
Hard to get out. You can't get out. Well, we got the Public Enemy here, which, man, they just need to be an ECW. They just don't fit anywhere else.
Nope.
Are you familiar with their ECW or any of the Public Enemy?
Mildly for sure. So my brother, he's 3 years older than me, and back home, ECW was on channel 25, which wasn't. You'd have to have a certain antenna. It didn't come through the normal broadcast TV, but he had this little. I bet it was a 6-inch TV. Tiny little box with an antenna with tin foil on it, and he and I would sit in his bed and watch ECW in 1997. So those were my first memories, and I've of course gone back and watched some on the network. Those shows are very hit or miss, but some wild stuff. A lot of misses.
When the Public Enemy was there, it was kind of like this. It was just brawling everywhere, not a lot of sense to it.
A lot of plunder, as Dusty would say.
Love the chairs here and how they're just not folding chairs. They're just fixed chairs that they're trying to hit each other
from
with.
A second grade classroom, basically.
Yes,
and so Sullivan just drops it on them. It was the weakest fucking shot.
Kevin Sullivan is fucking worthless. He stinks.
He does. I was just gonna say that exact. He does stink.
God, I don't know. He's on every show. I don't know. He doesn't bring any use him as a mouthpiece. Sure, whatever. In the ring to get this fucking potato with legs out of here.
He's had enough of them. He's a significantly worse Jeff Jarrett. He's always around, always big part of the show. He's booking this shit at the time. I'm pretty sure Sully was the booker. Yeah. He and Terry Taylor actually. For some reason, the other night I was watching. It might have been this show. It might have been. I fall asleep to a lot of old wrestling shit, but I just Googled WCW bookers because it was a revolving door, from the late 80s till the end. But I think Dusty preceded or Flair preceded Sullivan, Dusty preceded him, but yeah, I think it was old Sully here. So obviously he's booking himself. So
at least his brother's not involved anymore. I mean, he might be in the Dungeon of Doom still, but he's not. He was like
locked
getting
up
matches. Stuck in the moat, probably.
Oh, I also noted here, so when those chair shots were happening, they're out of the ring way longer than the first match that ended in a double. Like, it's probably 30 seconds.
Right.
All 4 guys are out of the ring. It's like great continuity here, fellas.
And this would be a match where I'm like okay with everybody not being included
Correct.
in the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we got a finals team here. Fucking
Yeah.
what are we doing? Was Johnny Grunge going to be the WCW champion? What are we?
Rocco Rock.
It's not good. Flyboy Rocco Rock.
Combined, they have a 25% chance to be the number 1 contender at the end of the night.
Yep, they have 22 2/3 chance of beating Samoa Joe. That's for sure. Well, we got some tables. We got some plunder. They try to send the Taskmaster through the table, but Benoit cuts him off.
What a guy!
It's short lived because Benoit gets beaten up, gets laid on the table that's set up on the outside, and it looks like Kevin Sullivan is like holding him on the table. I think the idea was that he got like knocked out and landed on Benoit, but he was definitely holding him on the table.
Absolutely.
And then the Public Enemy hits what I think they call the Big Papa or some shit. Where it's so Johnny Grunge is on the apron and Rocco Rock does a front flip into him. So they both go falling onto the table through Benoit, roll him in 1, 2, 3. Public Enemy wins.
Unreal.
and are moving on. So barn burner of the contest here, I thought.
Yeah, good on you, Public Enemy. You guys are great.
I hope they make it far.
Yes.
Well,
let's keep going.
The shit just keeps on cascading out of my asshole here. We got
this next one is pretty decent in terms of like the first round matches. Probably one of the best.
I would say probably the best Lord of the Ring match, unless I'm forgetting one.
Probably.
Definitely up there. I say it was shit because I see the Booty Man's name and I automatically hate anything he's involved in. We got Rick Steiner and the Booty Man versus Sergeant Craig Pittman and Scott Steiner. So we got the Steiner brothers facing each other. Oh, googly moogly. What are the odds?
Will they touch, unlike the Road Warriors?
They do a good bit of touching each other in this match.
They actually do, and it's pretty tight, actually.
It's probably the highlight of the show, other than the Hooters girls and
in ring wise, probably.
Yeah.
I will say overall, Rick Steiner, like this whole show, may have impressed me the most in the ring. Like he looked like a fucking beast, just chucking people around in this match, the second round match. Damn. I mean, obviously, I've seen plenty of Steiners like pre NWO era, and they were fucking great. But on a show with very little to get excited about in ring, Rick Steiner was one that stood out to me. Yeah,
I mean, definitely the Steiner versus Steiner portion of this match, which felt like about half of it, maybe. Super awesome. I mean, just watching these guys, it almost looked like they were shoot wrestling in the beginning a little bit with the transitions and the counters and stuff, and then start throwing out suplexes. Scott hits Rick with a T-bone. Rick comes back with like a lariat and just jockeying back and forth. Rick hits him with a dragon suplex at one point, and Scott comes back with a T-bone off the second rope. So they're throwing bombs at each other.
They were.
Booty Man's there throwing out his high knee. Do you get it? High knee? It's a high knee.
Yeah.
High knee. Booty. Ass.
Wow. It's
fun.
Unreal.
We're having fun.
Yes.
And Craig Pittman. Craig Pittman kind of impressed me a little bit here.
I agree. Yeah, he threw some suplexes. He looked like a toughie out there.
Yeah, I guess he's a legit amateur wrestler, so he was hanging in there with old Rick Steiner there when they had some interactions, but ultimately Craig Pittman. You go ahead.
I was just going to say some good shit from the brain. I didn't actually write it down, but just like talking shit about the Steiners, about like each other, you can't remember, but just, about them as kids. And I can't remember who's the older one again?
I was trying. I think Rick is.
Rick. Yeah. So it was all about like Rick, kind of beating up Scott or something.
He was like, yeah, Scott, just remember all the hand-me-downs Rick gave you.
Yeah. This is nonsense. But again, like the commentary helped make this show at least watchable.
Like Rick got the hot cereal and you got the, or it's not cereal, but something like that. Some just nonsense from the brain, but love it.
Yep.
But this comes to an end when Craig Pittman locks in the armbar on Booty Man. But Booty Man is able to get to the ropes and tag in Rick Steiner, and Rick hits Pittman with a German suplex with a bridge for the win, which looked pretty because he was like Pittman was trying to kick out, but Rick was like scooting, but he was like keeping his shoulders on the mat. So it was some good stuff here. As far as like the Lord of the Ring matches, I would say this is probably one of my favorites, if not my very favorite from this show.
In terms of a match, I mean the Flair Macho Man stuff is pretty good, but that's really aside from a match. So, and then we get perhaps the line of the night from the Booty Babe, which we'll have to talk about her in a sec. It like cuts to her and she's like, not in a positive light, but she's like, now that was teamwork. I like it. It was so fucking bad.
So I don't support violence against women. Never mind. I'm just gonna keep that one on my noggin. But
Kim sucks.
She's throw her in the dungeon, tie her up. I'm not 100% sure that's not a thing that happened, by the way. But it wouldn't be far fetched. I mean,
that's it.
The only person I hate more than Kim is probably Jim Duggan, personally. He's his stupid fucking stick and his tape.
And he'll be coming up very soon here.
Maybe next, because he's teaming with old VK Wall Street, otherwise known as IRS. And they're taking on the Blue Bloods, represented by Lord Steven Regal and Squire Dave Taylor.
Regal is so great here.
I love him. Dude, the back and forth between him and VK Wall Street, they're just like throwing European uppercuts at each other, was probably the highlight of this match for me.
Well, and even just his entrance, like right out of the gate, he's just giving it to Jeeves. Like, he's just like yelling at Jeeves, like right as they make their entrance.
Poor Jeeves.
And then just his like facial reactions, like when Duggan's coming out, he's just like has a look of disgust on his face.
So good.
And then he turns to the camera, and I don't know if he's directing it to the fans or commentary. He's like, "Keep your bloody mouth shut because I'm going to give you some sunshine." That was a horrible British accent, but yeah, you get the picture.
I saw that. Yeah, he's people in the crowd. Yeah, for sure.
He's just priceless. This whole match, character-wise and in-ring work.
Yeah, I mean, because before the match even starts, like Duggan's in the ring and Regal gets like on the apron and puts his hand on the turnbuckle, and Duggan like swings his 2x4 at him and almost hits him in the finger, and Regal's like,
shaking his head.
That was I mean,
I
as far as
wish
the
I
match goes,
appreciated Regal more when he was active, which wasn't a super long time when I was watching, but like, man, he's so great, and obviously everything he has done since, behind the scenes at NXT initially, on screen at AEW. Like, the guy's a fucking legend.
So I mean, his influence alone is legendary. Even if he had a pretty good amount of success in his career, but I think people who have used his style and have built on it. I mean, it's
have you seen any of his FCW matches against Dean Ambrose? There's like 2 or 3 of them that are awesome, like really, really good. And I went back and watched one like after the formation of the Blackpool Combat Club for obvious reasons, but I'd like to think that's kind of where those roots started. But if you ever have the means, they're findable on. I don't think they're on the network, but they're findable on. But great shit. It's like 2009-ish, 8-ish, 9-ish.
That sounds about right. I've seen his match with Cesaro in NXT.
That was like his last big match, or maybe last match.
I believe so.
But in WWE, I think,
awesome. But I mean, so Jim Duggan and VK Wall Street are.
This was not
team.
Awesome.
It was. What are your thoughts on the taped fist gimmick?
stupid. I mean, he just hits him with the roll of tape. It ain't fucking brass knuckles here.
Dude, the concept of tape adding power to your punch makes, I mean, I get it. It can make it a little like rougher, so maybe it'll like cut you open easier, but that just knocks somebody. He hits Dave Taylor and he just cartoon falls.
Which was funny.
Stars around his head. It was like, whatever, but that's how, so Duggan and VK Wall Street get the win, even though they're like fighting each other the entire time.
Yeah, which continues.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Also, again, would have been nice to see Regal win here. It's like they get the wrong winner in every match.
No. The people want to see either Jim Duggan or IRS as the world champion, I think. So
my bad. You're right.
They got their finger on the pulse, this WCW. So
I'll admit, after this, I stopped taking notes. Not that there was many notes to take, but I think I was like eating lunch and I was just kind of like, this is stupid anyway. So I've watched them. I don't really have anything to note, but I'll give my limited analysis here.
You didn't take the notes on Alex Wright and Disco Inferno's dance moves?
I do love me some Alex Wright, though. I am going to say that. And
the Wunderkind.
Criminally underrated as well. It's kind of weird. His career just like ended after WCW. But always was a big fan of Alex Wright. Disco, he was fine. Liked him as a kid going back. And he's just like a horrible dude. What, Glenn Gilberti is his name?
He's kind of a dildo of a human being for sure.
Yeah. So,
well, look, I like the team concepts in this next match. Alex Wright, Disco Inferno, 2 dancers. I'm all for it. Against the team of Earl Robert Eaton and Dick Slater. Dirty Dick Slater.
Dirty cock.
A couple crusty old cocks versus some young, fresh twinks, I guess. Dancing twinks.
And it goes a robust 2 minutes and 56 seconds.
So I was watching this with my wife, and she saw the team of Robert Eaton and Dick Slater, and she said that their team name should be Eaton Dick. Right?
Bravo, Mrs. Hardest Part of the Ring.
Yeah, I was very proud of her after that.
That is wonderful.
We got Eaton Dick versus the Dancing Twinks. And by the way, Alex Wright, Disco Inferno, they come out and the music botches. Like Alex Wright comes out to no music, which that's like his whole thing. So he can't even dance. I didn't see him dance. Maybe he danced a cappella. I don't know.
You're right. It was like probably 20 plus seconds, and then Disco Fever kicks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a shame.
We got Alex Wright flying around for the time that they were in there, but ultimately Disco gets distracted by his own dancing hips, and Dirty Dick with a boot to the back of the head to Disco Inferno, and Dick gets the win.
He took the boot off, right, and hit him with it?
Yeah. Because he's not limber enough to kick him in the head. He has to take his boot off and manually do it with his hands.
And he's dirty.
And he's Dick. So,
yeah.
Yep, so Dick Slater in 1996, everybody. Dick Slater and Bobby Eaton move on to the next round. Not the young, up-and-coming athletic guys with charisma and characters. Throw Dirty Dick and the third guy in the Blue Bloods. Throw them in the finals. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, it's just they don't miss WCW. They stay cooking, as the kids say.
Especially pre-NWO here.
Oh, we are right on the cusp of it. It's 2 weeks later it starts.
Yeah.
So, but until then.
2 months, right? Because next month is Great American Bash, and then it's Bash.
Yeah, right. Well, Scott Hall debuts in 2 weeks, which I was considering the start of it. But yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
You know who I am.
Who is he?
Don't know why I'm here.
Fucking hairy chest.
A buddy of mine who I don't really see a whole lot will just like text me random ass shit from time to time, and he texted me that quote yesterday just out of context completely.
I love the thought of him thinking of it and like, I gotta let Brett know that I'm thinking this as well.
Yeah, it was tight.
But you know who is also tight is the Barbarian.
Yeah, this match wasn't bad. Again, of all of them, top 3 of the Lord of the Ring, maybe.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'm
Maybe.
with that.
It was solid.
Yeah. DDP is a shining star. Like, as much as he's like a non-factor, really, at this point. Well, he ends up being a factor at the end of this. But
you see it in him for sure.
There's like a hunger in him that's like not present in a lot of people on this card. Like, you can see he's like really trying to like make himself stand out. Like, even if it's just how he's bumping, how he's selling, all of that stuff.
Great selling in this. And yeah, like I said, I watched all the shows from this year, like of last year, whenever, and like to see the growth of DDP from Starrcade 95 to Starrcade 96 was definitely one of the highlights, because he's didn't even get into wrestling until he was like late 30s, early 40s, something like that. Was a manager initially. Yeah, it was a manager initially. So like this was kind of the start of his like in-ring career. And by the end of 96 going into 97, he's becoming one of the top guys there.
Yeah, I mean, even at this point, he's not really featured on Nitros. Very, very rarely he is. He's like a Saturday night or a main event type guy. So he's very low on the card at this point, but I guess this show is here to skyrocket him a bit.
Well, again, he was poverty stricken, so it's hard to work your way up the card when you don't know where you're going to lay your head to rest every night, when your next meal is going to be.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, good old Diamond Dallas had it tough at this point. He lost his woman, lost all his money, so
lost his cigar, his furry jackets, his cane.
Yeah. You got a feel for the guy.
It's really unfortunate, but he's still got his glasses and his glittery jacket and bright green tights. Thank God. But that is teaming with the Barbarian versus Hugh Morris and Ming, both in the Dungeon of Doom. So lucky for them that they got put on. Although I guess there's a lot of Dungeon of Doom guys.
And
so
Barbarian is as well, because Ming and Barbarian are the faces of fear. So this is another instance of partners facing against each other. So yeah, 3/4 of this match representing the dungeon.
But the faces of fear didn't care about fighting each other. I mean, they were not friendly. They were. Nope. That was probably my favorite part of this.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. And Barbarian in general, even up till the bitter end of this show, also pretty impressive. Some nice power bombs throughout, just some good power moves. So yeah, Barb had a nice showing on this evening.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what this match was a lot of power moves and power strikes. The Faces of Fear, they have a fun little, they're just chopping and kicking each other. Nobody's selling anything, but they're just laying into each other. Even like an eye poke, like one of the guys pokes the other guy in the eye and they don't even sell it. And shout out to Hugh Morris too, one of the most beautiful moonsaults out there.
Absolutely, for a big boy too.
Nothing humorous about that. But ultimately, so both Faces of Fear guys, obviously on different teams, and they both get pins at the same time. But I guess Barbarian covered Hugh Morris first. So the team of the team of Barbarian and DDP win.
And it was funny because DDP got pinned, but then he was the one who got his hand raised too, which was pretty tight. Yeah.
All that matters is he get the W. Well, what's next might be the worst match of this tournament. We got
nice.
Fire and Ice, the team of Scott Norton and Ice Train versus
also
the
actual team that got the pair together.
I mean, the odds are just outstanding here.
It's crazy how many times it happened that way, or teammates on opposing teams.
It's almost like every match was
the draw was rigged.
Yeah. But they're taking on Stevie Ray and Big Bubba, the boss man, who I guess is in the Dungeon of Doom now. And is dressed in, he looks like a gay biker, Big Bubba does. I don't know what his character is supposed to be. But lots of leather here. We got, I have a note here, Ice Train with a flying reverse cowgirl. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't take notes, but I watched it.
Thoughts? No, this was, it was a garbage match. A lot of shoulders, a lot of clotheslines.
Yep.
I think the finish even was like a double shoulder block from Fire and Ice. It's like, you see these two big, powerful bastards, and you think their double team move is going to be like a super cool looking power bomb or slam. But nope, it's just let's run into you and then pin you. Fucking.
Yeah.
Well, Fire and Ice gets the win. No, I want to talk about Big Bubba some more, actually. What'd you think of his hat and his pants?
Leather daddy.
Speaking of daddies, we got a couple daddies here. We got Who's Your Daddy? Eddie Guerrero and Arn Anderson versus the team of Macho Man and Ric Flair. Macho Man and Ric Flair don't like each other at all.
No,
so it's like, oh my gosh, how are these guys gonna get along?
How is it gonna happen?
Oh man, I don't even know if they'll make it out there. How are they gonna coexist? Like out of context though, both these teams fuck. I mean, Arn Anderson and Eddie Guerrero,
absolutely,
and the team of Macho Man and Ric Flair. You would think this would be like a show stealer, but
yeah. Well, 4 minutes 4 seconds, but again, like it was at least intriguing. You know, like Flair kind of stiffened Macho Man, and then it just broke down where Flair was just beating the shit out of him, or maybe that was right after the match. But Arn essentially helped Flair get the W, and then they just waylaid Macho Man. But yeah, this had a lot of potential, and unfortunately did not hit it.
No, it's really furthering the story between Ric Flair and Macho Man, which feels like it's been going on for over a year at this point. And then of course you have Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, while on opposite teams, are both members of the Four Horsemen. So you got that dynamic going on. And so Flair comes out first. Well, Macho Man's music plays. He doesn't come out. Then Flair's music plays. He comes out. And then as Macho comes out first. Macho comes out first, and then Flair. But as Macho was in the ring,
delayed,
right?
You know, yeah.
So Macho's in the ring as Flair is coming out, and then as Macho's in the ring, Arn Anderson attacks Macho Man in the ring. Flair sprints to the ring to help in the beatdown. Eddie Guerrero's in there. He fights. He doesn't know who to hit, but he wants to win the match. But he also, I don't know. But I was like getting dizzy trying to take notes on this because there was so much happening.
I didn't note it, but was it a PHJ by Arn?
Yeah, I think it was a PHJ. Yeah. We had some PHJ. Was that the first PHJ of the show?
I think so. And then we have another with these guys a little bit later too. So
good old Pearl Harbor job for old Mach. Arn Anderson beats on Mach for a bit. Yeah.
Sorry, this is not even about this match, but there have been some big tasty fuckers on this show.
Ooh.
Just wanted to note that. Yeah.
Fire and Ice for some tasty fuckers.
Yeah. I would call Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman a big tasty fucker. You know, even maybe the Steiner brothers here.
Oh, they're some of the tastiest fuckers that there is.
Who do you think are the biggest bitch ass wiggers on this show?
Ooh, wiggers. Probably Disco. I would say. Isn't Disco like a star from black culture?
I'd say that's fair.
I think Disco kind of is culturally appropriating.
It's not the Blue Bloods.
No. Maybe Big Bubba.
Public Enemy. Public Enemy. Go. Big time.
Come on now. It's right in front of us.
Couple of bitch ass wiggers!
Yeah, a couple
all right, had to get one in.
Couple That's what I'm saying. So
now we're talking, babe. Now we're cooking.
Now we're smoking. Julia's smoking. All right. So guys said that. So the match happens. It's a big old schmoz. Ultimately, what happens here? So Arn Anderson DDTs his own partner, Eddie Guerrero, and Flair is able to pin Eddie. So Flair and Macho Man move on.
That's right.
Which is like, why? I don't know. Why are we bothering moving this thing forward if they're not going to team? I don't know. But yeah, Elizabeth is out there with Ric Flair.
What a nightmare of a first round.
It's Elizabeth slaps Macho Man. Arn DDTs Macho on the floor. And I guess more on that later. But yeah, the first round, how many stars do you give this out of 10?
2.5. And that might be generous.
I see. That I think that's a bit generous for sure.
What about
you? 2.5. Try to think of what was good. I think 2.5 is fair because it wasn't one territory because you had some Steiners, you had some big tasty fuckers throwing around each other.
Yeah, that was good.
But there is Jim Duggan.
Yeah, DDP and Barb against, Hugh and Ming was pretty good. And then the last match at least had some intriguing things and great talent in it, but wasn't much of a match.
Right.
So, yeah, 2.5 sounds good.
You know what the show needs, though? Is some Hooters whores.
Woo!
So we got Mean Gene is out there with the Hooters girls. I don't know if they're sponsored by them or what, but they're out there
fogging up.
Oh, from all the fucking wet gash that's out there with them. And I guess he's there because who was the first match? It was Booker, Luger, and the Road Warriors. They both got eliminated. So one team is going to get a bye. And one of the Hooters girls hands Gene a stack of envelopes, which I guess all have team names in them.
It's
and Gene,
Angela.
Angela, thank you. Thank you for keeping me on track. The audience needs to know. What was it? Angela? What were the other ones?
That's the only one I wrote down, but Gene kept fucking them up. Well, and they switched their name tags on him, too.
Come on, man. You're just giving out spoilers. That's later in the show. We got to keep the narrative straight. All right? It's a story that we're telling.
Yes, you're right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Fire and Ice, they get a bye because they're fat and they need a break. So
because they're a couple of big, tasty fuckers. BTFs, baby.
BTFs. There we go. Hashtag BTF, not BTS. No Koreans here.
And then BAWs, bitch ass wiggers.
There we go. BPWs.
I'm an acronym.
Maybe?
Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm an acronym guy, and I like BBWs.
Well, those are the things that people know about you. That's that's in your bio, I think, right?
Everyone knows that about me. Yeah.
Well, actually, speaking of BBWs, you know who has some tasty cheeks is Brad Armstrong.
Yeah.
I don't know if because his trunks were he was kind of caked up in this match. I don't know if you noticed or not.
Yeah, no, I did. He's a thick boy.
I mean, I don't even know if I call him thick. He's just got powerful glutes. But I guess you need that when you're challenging for the Cruiserweight Championship. The champion, Dean Malenko, taking on. He's not Bullet Brad, is he? That was his dad, Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Bullet Bob, yeah.
He's just
Brad.
He's just Brad.
I thought it was interesting because the Cruiserweight title was new at this point. They were talking about, I think it was Shinjiro Otani had won the inaugural tournament, but that this was the first Cruiserweight Championship match on a pay-per-view. So
certainly
not
was.
the best by any means, but noteworthy in that, I guess.
Yeah. And I get what they were going for here. Dean Malenko, he attacks. He right at the beginning drop kicks the knee of Brad Armstrong. They're about to lock up, and then he fakes him out and kicks him in the knee, which was just pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And then he attacks the leg with various submission holds, but nothing was particularly compelling about this match.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It was fine. No. Malenko's amazing, and he was just an all-out assault on the leg. But yeah, the match, like I said, it's not your cruiserweight match when the luchadors get involved a little later, but it's still probably the best or second best match on this show to this point.
It's up there,
which isn't saying much, but I love Malenko, and it was just fun to watch him work, and he had that fucking tasty 5 o'clock shadow going. He looked good.
Daddy.
Yes. Daddy Dean.
Daddy Dean is here. And it's really just a showcase for Malenko, I felt like.
Yeah.
Just all the stuff that he can do. Brad gets a little bit of a comeback towards the end. Hits a missile drop kick off the top. I guess he forgets to sell the leg for a little bit, but fuck it. They're all go off the top rope. And then Brad locks in the cloverleaf on Dean.
The nerve.
So just disrespectful. Disrespectful, yeah. I think. But Dean is able to come back and hits a gut buster off the second rope. Brutal. And that gets him the win. So he retains the old CW championship here. And looking forward to seeing more Dean in the Cruiserweight division.
I do like that move. And Bobby Heenan said it was move number 627. Out of the 1,000. Yeah.
What are the first 626?
Arm bar.
Okay. What's number 2?
Arm drag. Do you remember when Jericho did that with the scroll? Yeah, fucking tremendous. But yeah, Keenan was geeking me out. It was when they were doing the highlights. He's like, yeah, that's 627. And he called another one 996.
It was the pin. Just how he pinned him. It was like number 900 or something.
A lateral press.
Yeah. Well, you had like he cradled his head. So that's a lateral press is, I think it's like earlier. It's like number 200 or something.
Yep.
So.
And then next, the world is about to change.
Because there's more Hooters girls after that, right?
No, before
Oh, no,
that,
Glacier. That's right.
It's a Glacier. Yeah, it's a Glacier tease. Yeah.
Blood runs cold.
And then Hooters.
So I didn't even note it. I didn't even note the Glacier deal because I just didn't give a shit about it. But yeah, they run these vignettes for a long time, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Like months.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah,
and
we'll keep an eye on that.
Never really amounted to much, but Glacier was something.
It was something. Well, you already had the Iceman, Dean Malenko. You had Ice Train. You had a lot of snow-related characters. Maybe just got lost in the snow. So,
yeah, I can see that.
Well, we got so the Hooters girls are back. I just bring this up because what are your thoughts on just like the pacing of these shows? Like, I feel like WCW has like no urgency in anything. You're just hanging out. Let's just talk to you like, oh, they switched their name tags on me. Oh, these rascals, and then he fingers her.
I love how he said when they cut back to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm here with my close personal friends."
It's just nobody.
And then he says something like, "What are we gonna do at Hooters?"
Eat some wings and drink some beer. That's what one of the ladies says. Her one line. She nailed it.
Gene's like, that's not what I want. You know, I want your Angela. You know what I want.
Do you think Gene bagged any of these gals after the fact?
Absolutely, yes.
Ooh.
Probably all three of them.
That's a mustache ride that I would. Yeah.
Again, this was top tier Gene Okerlund. So, and he's running around with fucking Ric Flair out at the bars. So I'm sure he is going to pound town on a
come on now.
Base. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think his sex sound like? Do you think he holds it up like a microphone? It's just his impulse. Right? Who's with me?
Use my cock like a microphone, Angela.
Stupid Angela. Well, speaking of cocks, we got a couple cocks. We got 4 cocks at least. Well, there's 1 dick. We got Dick Slater. We got Eaton Dicks are back. Dick Slater and Bobby Eaton taking on the team of Jim Duggan with his big old wooden dick and VK Wall Street. Very phallic match this is.
I forgot to note the last time that Wall Street, like his get up when he comes to the ring, he looks like a ship's captain without the hat, but just like that long, like blue blazer with the gold buttons. Like, you don't look like a guy in high finance right now. You look like you should be out to sea.
Well, I thought it was hilarious that so like in the first match, obviously he comes out in the suit and tie or whatever. He takes it off. He undoes his tie. And then he like puts it back on for this match. Like, just keep it off.
What are you doing?
You're wrestling. You have a singlet on, dickhead.
Come on, VK. Figure it out.
Figure it out, bud. But yeah, this was my first note. Go ahead.
I have one note on this match, and then I'll let you take it. I just
please.
Duggan punched Wall Street, and he got rolled up. Insane drama.
My note was Jim Duggan and Dick are awful. Just they're I don't even want to call it wrestling what they were doing with each other. This is just nonsense. All of this.
Yes, it was awful.
This accidental, they're teaming it with each other, but miscommunication. I punched you. And it's just back and forth, and it's just. But yeah, like you said, VK accidentally punches Duggan, and then Eaton rolls up Duggan. So Eaton Dicks are off to the finals. So.
Unbelievable to join Fire and Ice.
Man, just a star-studded affair this Battle Royal is going to be, folks. Let me tell you.
Oh, I can't wait, honestly.
And you might be thinking, at this point, at least I was thinking, well, they'll probably throw Savage and Flair in there to get some star power, and one of them will probably win. Because the next match is Flair and Savage versus the Public Enemy. But we got a super PHJ in the beginning to the point where the match can't even get underway because Flair comes out. Macho Man comes out and attacks Flair in the aisle. Security drags him out. There's a big pull apart, and then Public Enemy just wins by default. And then they call it a count.
They call it a count out. They call it a count out, but I don't think the bell ever rang.
And it is what it is, but you can't keep Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock out of the main event, is what I always say.
No, you can't. No, you can't. There was a funny line as Macho Man was sprinting out. Tony's like, he almost hit woman. And Elizabeth's coming out with just like stacks of money too. Must be nice to roll with the Nature Boy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if I really reference what the beef is. I guess it's because Liz is the ex-wife of Macho Man at this point, and Ric Flair, I guess, has hired her or whatever, her and woman, and they're all spending Macho Man's money, which is a funny thing, right? It's a funny feud. It's just a silly way to go about it. Like on Nitro, like Macho Man will be wrestling, and then like by the stage, Flair and the women will all be like eating a fancy dinner with like candelabras and like in their suits or whatever. It's very silly, but it's pretty entertaining for the most part. But not in the main event, those fellas, I guess. Got Johnny Grunge and Flyboy Rocco Rock. Who will be the world champion? Probably one of those guys.
Yes. And I guess it should be noted, we haven't said it, that this show is no Hulk Hogan either. So that's another big load of star power not here. And
yeah. Do you think the show would have been better or worse with Hulk Hogan?
I mean, I'm not really a Hogan guy, but I feel like it had to be better, right? I don't know. I guess
who would he team with?
Yeah. Maybe, one. He would just win it on his own.
With the Hulkamaniac son in his corner. That's all I need to tag, dude.
Brother.
Fucking
piece of
shit.
Yeah, fuck Hogan. I'm glad he ain't here.
Fuck Hogan and fuck the Booty Man, his friend.
Yep.
Because he's back. The Booty Man and Rick Steiner up against the team of DDP and the Barbarian. So we got the whole subplot here. So the Booty Man is pretty much the reason that Diamond Dallas Page is broke, because they had a match for all of DDP's money. Booty Man beat him. He stole DDP's girl from him, and now she's the Booty Babe. The Barbarian's there. Rick Steiner's there. It's just the lethal lottery. You never know what you're going to get.
No, you don't. But the absolute highlight of this match, and you talked about DDP's selling earlier, very early in the match, he gets like thrown out of the ring, and there's like the television camera like cable kind of all rolled up, and he lands on it and kind of rolls around and he's like covered in it, and Dusty's like, he got cords all over him.
I think the commentary team at this point was kind of punch
and then he's
drunk.
Like, now that's plunder right there. He's got cords all over him. That's plunder right there. Yeah, they are absolutely out of their minds at this point.
I mean, I didn't really have much to say about this match other than, the finish. Booty Man has Barbarian rolled up, and DDP hits Booty with an elbow, and then Booty and Barb pins Booty. Barb pins Booty is the finish of this match. So,
you know what DDP I have on the
Barbarian.
Finish?
Yep.
My note is missed the finish, LOL.
I legitimately did too. I think they showed a replay, which is the only reason that I caught it, because I wasn't rewinding for that shit. But
I was definitely looking at my phone a lot during this show. So,
well, I hope you saw some Conan.
Yeah. This match is, I guess, the best match of the night. I guess.
I would probably say so. I mean,
yeah.
Jushin Thunder Liger is challenging Conan for the United States Championship. Yep. And my first note here is Liger is putting the show on his back, because he has some fire that we have not seen on this show yet. So
he does. It's a lot of like just moves after moves, and not a ton of like psychology in this match, but it's still the most entertaining in-ring work. And right out of the gate, Conan had like one of the wilder pinning combinations I've seen. He kind of like was rolling him up and then like had his legs over top of him and was kind of bridging. It was pretty cool. And like the Liger just kind of like bridged up out of it. But a lot of like mat, submission stuff going on in the like first half, and then they kind of start uncorking some of the high flying stuff. But yeah, this was definitely the match of the night.
I would say, if nothing else, it was a welcome change of pace because there was, like you said, there was some legit chain wrestling and submissions and pins in the beginning. But then it kind of
what about the KKK on the back of Conan's head?
So were those 3 Ks or was it just 1 K in the back and then
one of them was backwards, but there are 3 Ks on the back of his. There's like the big one right in the back, and then one on I think the left side of his head that was also a straight, and then the other was like a backwards K, but it absolutely was KKK.
Well, Tony Schiavone or it might have been Mike Tenay who was on commentary for this match.
Yeah.
He brought up that Conan, I guess, was like in a TV show at this point, and he says that the haircut was for that character, but
yeah. But the best part too is he's talking about. He's like, the story with that is, and Brain just interrupts him. He's like, I don't care to hear it. And then Schiavone's like, continue, Mike, and he's like, no, I don't care to hear it.
Speaking for everybody, this Brain,
so good.
Then you get some strike exchanges that were pretty fun. Liger throwing his kicks and his palm strikes and all that.
The exchanging of palm thrusts. Yeah, that was fun.
I love that now. I just have that clip of you doing that. I'll figure out something to do with it.
Please.
But yeah, then they start kind of just throwing bombs at the end. Liger hits a superplex onto Conan. A splash off the top rope for a 2 count. So you got like a bunch of near falls here towards the end.
That Fisherman Buster was very nice.
Yeah, Dusty's like, oh, it's a Fisherman Buster? No, that was Tony Schiavone. I was like, oh, that's an interesting move. Name? Shut up.
Like you've never heard of a Fisherman suplex, Tone?
I guess not. Conan counters like a sunset flip with a Alabama slam. That looked pretty nice. Looked pretty gnarly.
Liger bomb.
Liger bomb, the Liger kick, all of the signature stuff. But ultimately, Conan wins with the Splash Mountain Power Bomb. So retains his U.S. title. But yeah, Liger was in ring wise. I mean, Liger is probably the star of the show.
Oh, by far. And yeah, this got 9.5 minutes. So the second longest match on the card.
Marathon.
Would have been nice if it got, 12, 13, I think they could have maybe done a little but again, this was definitely the best and a treat to have Liger at this point of the show for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, for sure. It definitely felt like Liger was just doing a bunch of cool moves and then he just lost out of nowhere. That's kind of how this match felt. But to your point, I mean, not a lot of psychology, but it was a welcome, something different from the show at least.
No doubt.
And then we got Flair is back. And he's eliminated. Flair, Arn, and all the women. So Woman and Elizabeth, they're all out there. They're letting everybody know. I think Gene's out there. They're letting everybody know that Macho Man has been taken to jail. I don't know why Flair wasn't with them. I don't know. Flair. So Flair is he has 2 women already, but he wants a 3rd one. Mm-hmm. He wants old Deborah McMichael from who is.
But he called Steve McMichaels. McMichaels.
Old Mongo is here.
I also love right before this when Flair's spouting about whatever he's spouting about fucking someone else.
I wasn't listening.
He's just talking about partying in Baton Rouge. And again, Mean Gene with just the subtlest thing, like kind of drops the microphone like when he's talking about that shit and like catches himself. But again, so great from Mean Gene this whole show.
They're great. It's him and Flair together, gold.
Oh, absolutely.
But
now we get McMichaels.
Yeah, Mongo comes out because obviously Flair's talking about his wife, and Mongo's like, "Hey, baby, let me tell you something, baby. You ain't gonna talk about Deborah like that, baby." Mongo, obviously a former football player, and Flair's spouting off, "Oh, you're just a football player. You can't wrestle me.
Me and Arn are wrestlers."
And Mongo's like, "Well, I have a buddy of mine that we're gonna take you down," and then out comes Kevin Green from the Carolina Panthers. You big Kevin Green guy?
You know what? I'm okay with Kevin Green. He had a few appearances. I thought he's pretty good, all things considered. The call this a promo, it wasn't really, but was pretty bad. But the times he actually put on the boots and went in the ring, I thought he was pretty good. But yeah, he comes out, he's like, "Woo, let's rock and roll, baby!" And then like after that, he's like, "We're ready to rock and roll. Put your jock on." It's like, all right, dude. But
I mean, he looked like he had just taken a line. Like before that, he was shot out of a cannon. This Kevin Green was.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about his in-ring stuff. I mean, he's a celebrity football player, of course, so it's graded on a scale, I guess. But
he had like 3 to 5 matches, probably, from like 96, 97, and I've seen at least a couple of them, and yeah, pretty solid, for a celebrity, so to speak.
Right. Well, that brings us to the Lord of the Ring finals.
Riddled with championship material. Like I said, that was my note here. Like, it's incredible crop of talent here.
Here are your 8 potential pay-per-view main eventers for the world title. You got DDP in 96. Then you got The Barbarian, Scott Norton, Rocco Rock, Earl Robert Eaton, Ice Train, Dirty Dick Slater, and Johnny Grunge. No Macho Man, no Ric Flair, no Booker T, no Lex Luger, no Eddie Guerrero. These are the finalists.
It's fucking incredible.
I mean, I had never seen this before.
You are at a loss for words.
Right? When I was watching this, I was like, DDP's got to win this, right? Because I didn't know who was going to win. It was like, who was Ice Train going to come out on top? I don't know. But
I mean, Scott Norton was a future IWGP World Heavyweight Champ, but he wasn't.
I'm a big fan of Flash.
I was going to say he wasn't at that level here, but yeah.
I'm looking at the rest of the people and thinking of anybody that had any I guess Barbarian's fine, sure. I think Ming is just a better version of him, but or at least a more I don't know.
It's awful.
I said this earlier, I think, but it just felt like a pre-show battle royal. It's like it was slow motion, no fire. The crowd didn't care. Nobody cares about anybody that's in this match. Ultimately, because DDP wins is whatever. I mean, the match. There's not a lot to say about the match itself.
Kind of fun. Like, I can't remember. It's Barbarian and 2 others. He diamond cuts all 3 up, so you can win. It's either over the top or pinfall for the elimination. So he hits 3 diamond cutters in a row and gets the first 2 pins, and then Barbarian kicks out. So that was at least fun and different. Yeah. And then the 2 of them had, probably 3 to 4 minutes of action one-on-one that was pretty solid. Again, Barbarian with a lot of big power moves. But then the finish, the crowd just didn't give a fuck, like you said. So, it was just so flat by that point. And he just hit the diamond cutter out of nowhere, and about 8 people in the crowd cheered.
Yeah, and look, I mean, if they had, obviously DDP ended up being a big star, so in hindsight, it was a smart move going with them here, which I guess was the ultimate goal, which, DDP is, you're putting them above all these guys, which I guess is something. And they did show, DDP, they were, really putting forward his resiliency here, because, like you said, the final 2 were him and Barbarian. And Barbarian's hitting him with he hits him with a sick-looking tombstone.
And they were partners, remember?
Yes, so they know each other very well.
They did have that nice tombstone, too. Yeah, Barb was looking good here.
DDP's kicking out of all of Barbarian's moves. Big power bomb by Barbarian. Which, by the way, I had no idea you could eliminate people with pinfalls until DDP started diamond cutting people.
I didn't either. I don't think they said
Why not?
Yeah.
Cool. Diamond cutter out of nowhere for the win. It was just the most anticlimactic. There was no build to the finish, first of all.
The whole show was built around this. The entire show was this. And this is what we get with these 8 guys. It's come the fuck on. Kevin Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen.
But you have this finish. You have Nick Patrick with his shitty cadence. You can't even really tell if it's a 3 count or not.
Oh, and he shoved DDP at that one point, and DDP sold it like a sack of bricks.
But this all happens. the crowd goes mild, and then there's fireworks. It's like, oh my god, it's like so much fireworks. It was so clearly supposed to be a big moment, but it really wasn't. And well, DDP gets the win here. That was probably the best case scenario out of these 8 people. So,
it was the only case scenario. But here, so take note as you continue journeying through 1996, because remember, they said that the Lord of the Ring. Well, first off, they said you can have it for like up to a year. Oh. It's not clear on what it is, but you're right. They did say like a championship match at Great American Bash.
Yes,
which DDP does not get that. Ever. Like he never gets the world championship match from this. Like
that's hilarious.
He defends the ring, I think. He maybe loses it at some point, but this is all rendered absolutely meaningless at the end of the day because he never gets the fucking shot.
Now that you mentioned him defending the ring, that's like triggering a memory in mind that I've heard over. Yeah, that's so fun. All of this time is just for naught.
The Great American Bash 1996 card real quick, just for my own interest here.
Please.
And your world title match is the Giant versus Lex Luger.
Okay.
Who was eliminated in the first match of the show.
Yeah.
And Diamond Dallas, he does defend the Lord of the Ring against your boy, Marcus Alexander Bagwell.
Oh, well, look, title belts, it's whatever. There's no more prestigious prize than the Lord of the Ring moniker. So,
big facts. Big
really,
facts.
Who really cares, right? It's more about the LOTR when it comes down to it. But that being said, we do have a world heavyweight title to be defended here. We got the champion, the newly crowned champion as of like 2 or 3 weeks before this, the Giant. Defending against Sting.
Did he beat Macho Man for it?
He beat Ric Flair for it.
Okay. Well, and let's real quick talk about the pre-match interview in the back because I referenced it right off the jump. Because Jimmy Hart is managing the Giant here, and he will be handcuffed to Lex Luger at ringside. And as he's talking about this, obviously Jimmy's very scared. And Jimmy Hart dribbled all over the floor. And I thought that, again, just Mean Gene putting a fucking bow on this show because he really was the star here.
Had a bit of a wet dream, Jimmy Hart did, huh, in this interview? But the Giants, look, the build up to this match. I mean, storyline wise, there's not much of a story really. It's more about like Sting and Lex Luger were a team. They've been bickering. Lex Luger has been kind of leaving Sting high and dry on certain tag matches. So there's like kind of like, is Luger with Sting or is he not with Sting? And then the Giants there. It's just a match that kind of felt like it was pulled out of its own ass. But and then so you have that like pre-match interview, like you mentioned. By the way, the Giant, like, let's just not let Big Show talk. He's just, Sting, you've been a thorn in my side. You've been a cockroach in my apple pie. Like,
what? That was the best one.
That's not a phrase. Like, what are we?
It was really, really bad. Obviously, his promos get better over the years, but Lord Almighty, just let Jimmy Hart talk.
Look, this is the best version of Paul White, in my opinion.
I would in-ring, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, even character-wise, like, he feels, at least at this point, like a giant. I mean, Andre the Giant's son, I don't know if they're still doing that really at this point, but he's a big guy. He's menacing looking. He's young. He's viral.
He can jump. He can jump. He's, very athletic for his size at this point.
Yeah, but, I mean, honestly, the match itself, I didn't hate. I thought, especially like the beginning, because look, this show, like it dragged on this nonsensical tag match after tag match. The cruiserweights had no heat to it. The U.S. title was fine.
Did you watch this all in one sitting?
I did somehow.
See, I broke it up into two. I watched first hour 15, which was through the first round of the Lord of the Ring, like I think Wednesday, 2 days ago, and then I finished it earlier today. But yeah, that must have been tough in one sitting.
I will say though, there's something to say about like these short matches, and it felt like there was constant motion throughout the show. Like matches, there weren't like a lot of like dragged out rest hold matches. Like it was like very sprinty on to the next match. There weren't a lot of segments in between. So it kind of was weirdly paced kind of well for what it was. But yeah, ultimately like in saying that, like the crowd must have been exhausted. And going into this match, I was like, are they going to be into it? But like Sting comes out there, he's throwing punches, he's giving it to the Giant. The crowd is, I mean, they're as loud as they've been this entire show. They woke up during this match. The crowd
which, again, isn't saying a whole lot, but
no,
yeah.
But I don't know, man. What do you think about this? I thought Sting showed a lot of good fire with all his drop kicks, that he's like trying to slam the Giant, but he can't, and the Giant's coming off like a monster. I mean, I thought this was pretty solid for what it was.
Yeah, probably pretty close up there or right there with Conan and Liger for match of the night. It was Sting showing that fire, doing anything he can to take the Giant down. He can't. You have the story of Luger and Jimmy Hart out there, kind of. Wasn't there like a table spot or something at some point on the outside where they were, or like Luger was able to move Sting off? I can't. What exactly happened with that again?
Yeah. So on Nitro the week before, the Giant choke slammed Luger through a table onto the concrete floor, which they really, I guess you didn't see that a lot in this time frame. So they really put it over like a huge thing that happened. Like, is Luger okay? Is whatever. So they call back to that here, where Giant tries to do the same thing to Sting, but Luger saves him, and that's like the big thing here is Luger proving his loyalty to Sting, and he kind of does that throughout the entire match.
Until the end, maybe.
Well, that's up in the air. You got to tune into Nitro, brother, to see.
Yeah. I know you will be.
I will be, unfortunately. I'm gonna fall asleep to it tonight.
Are you watching like all the Nitros in between when you do these?
Pal. I am.
So for every promotion that you're covering, are you watching? Well, I guess there's not weeklies for like Progress but like, are you watch all like the Raws and things like that?
Raws, the SmackDowns, the Impacts, the in between ROH. I watch PWG.
Wow, you're a real freak, aren't you?
I just watch wrestling and come. That's all I do.
Coming from the guy who is on pace to have 718 4-star matches this year alone, you're a fucking freak.
Yeah, I don't really keep up with the current as much. I'm more into 2006 Impacts and watching.
Fucking tight. I did listen to a good chunk of your No Surrender show with old BC Hunter. That was BBC
Hunter, my boy.
Fucking Petey Williams shitting his dipes.
Dude, it's well, that mindset was born through WCW, so it's good to see the roots here, I guess. But I don't know. The match ends when so Sting or Luger and Jimmy Hart are fighting over the microphone or the megaphone and on the apron, and then Bob's your uncle. It slips out of their hands and it hits Sting in the face as he has the Scorpion Deathlock in, and is able to. And Big Show is able to choke slam him for the win. So the Giant retains the title. Is Luger with Sting? Is he not with Sting? I guess we'll have to find out. So,
and I did kind of note on the replay, it did look like Jimmy Hart fell first rather than Luger like pulling him. But who knows? Again, that's why you got to tune into Nitro, brother.
I mean, he's got the baby oil on his hands. It could have slipped,
Yeah. But yeah, this was a pretty good main event, on a shit sandwich of a show. But like you said, probably is, 96, 97 Paul White, is probably the peak for him,
Yeah.
Sting, I guess this is shortly before he kind of goes on his hiatus for what, like close to a year pretty much, right?
Yeah, because that's after Hogan turns, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. So
yep.
We're getting there. But as far as like world title matches, I mean, after slogging through of all Hulk Hogan's bullshit with like Vader and Beefcake and all it's like, this is probably one of the better WCW title matches I've seen personally. Yeah. So not a bad way to end.
When did you start the WCW journey?
So this timeline, so I WWF, WCW, ECW, I started that at WrestleMania 10, just because it kind of felt like a round number, and I'm not really too super interested in like the really old stuff.
Yeah.
So WrestleMania 10 felt like a good point. Like Raw's a thing, and so yeah, I think Spring Stampede was the first WCW show, which was
so you had those three timelines going simultaneously, essentially, and then like Impact, ROH, are they on the same timeline for you?
No, so Impact I started from the first like their first 3-hour pay-per-view, which is the end of
like
04.
2004. Yeah.
But Ring of Honor I always kind of wanted to start from the beginning.
That was like 2002, right? Yeah.
I guess technically I could have started TNA from the very beginning, but I've seen a few like Asylum shows, and like they're kind of rough. But maybe one day, maybe that'll be maybe I'll come back around once everything else is done. But yeah, man, that's a Slamboree for you.
Yeah, we made it happen, baby.
Are we the Lords of the Rings for watching this?
I think we might be.
Look at us. I mean, well, actually, I guess technically DDP is probably still the Lord of the Ring, is he not? Or did he ever lose the ring?
So. I don't know. I can't remember. But I don't know if I don't think the ring ever really got cashed in.
Not yet, brother. He's still around. He's gonna yoga his way.
It's the one that MJF has now.
Ooh, didn't they make a reference to that at some point? I feel like they did. Because DDP, there was like MJF was like, I'm gonna bang your wife.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, that's a Slamboree for you. Right? Sorry, you keep like cutting out. I keep thinking I'm losing you, but
yeah,
I'll never lose you.
It was a big old hot Carl.
I'll never lose you. I think we got a bit of lag here, but why don't you take your shirt off and plug your show?
Really ending the show strongly here, aren't we?
Are you still? Hold on.
Just on a huge delay. I'm on a big delay right now, but I'm still here.
Stick your big delay in my ass and plug the Brainbuster Boys. Where can everybody find you, listen to you, and suck on your nipples?
Yeah. On Twitter and Instagram at Brainbuster Boys. Frankly, we haven't been super active lately on social media and just haven't been putting out episodes quite as frequently. However, we did just drop one a couple days ago, which is part 3 in our Vince in the Machine storyline, which has been a real hoot thus far. And we also talk Forbidden Door a week later, even though we recorded it the day after the show. But to put together kind of the rest of the episode took a lot longer than we anticipated. But check it out. It is very different than probably anything you've ever heard on a wrestling podcast. We have a lot of fun with it. We've got people playing Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, fucking Paul Levesque. Omos on this show makes an appearance. So it is a good time. I think we will still be covering Money in the Bank next week, so a week later. But we've been kind of off kilter, but we're still doing our thing for sure. And then also the Phoenix Splash podcast. Both Phoenix Splash and Brainbuster Boys can be found on the Visionaries Global Media Network on all major podcasting platforms. We cover all Japanese wrestling over there. Me and my boy JCB from the Band from Ringside podcast. We'll probably be having our 11th episode come out sometime next week in advance of the G1 Climax. So things starting to get pretty spicy over in New Japan. Coming off, they had 2 incredible Independence Day shows. I don't know if you caught those, but
I have not.
Great. Like a very raucous Korakuen Hall crowd. They're chanting, holy shit. They're chanting, this is awesome. Like things you don't really get in Japan much. Wow. So New Japan is back to being the best wrestling promotion in the world. I'm going to say that. But yes, Kyle, thank you for having me on yet again. 2-3 weeks after our last one?
I just can't get rid of you. You're the dirt on my dick.
Yeah, I'm the hot on your Carl. What?
Once again, thank you to Brett from the Brainbuster Boys podcast for joining me on this lovely, lovely Slamboree 1996. Go check out the Brainbuster Boys wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as YouTube, Twitch, Omegle, Hive, Threads, all of that stuff. And do the same for me. You know the deal. Hey, there's a cat asshole on my desk. Dwayne, you got something to say to the people?
He's a good boy. That's my little man's. That's my little man's.
Ow! Fucking dick. Put his claws on me. God, what? Look at that. Look at the cat hair. Is the camera picking that up? Fucking, yeah, Kyle, pick up your white cat while you're wearing your black hoodie. That's a great idea. Anyways, well, we got to grade this show. Hey, hit it. WCW, ECW, WWF, who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though, it's mostly shit. Alrighty then, let's get down to business. WCW Slamboree, where are we at? Where are we at in the hardest promotion battle of 1996? If you've not listened in or watched this, let me run it down for you. We got WWF versus WCW versus ECW. And after every one of these shows from 1996, we gather our thoughts. We compare this show against other shows. And we also compare the company as a whole to other companies to see what they're putting out and if it's the best or the worst out of the three. In-ring, out-of-ring, star power, all that stuff. We get into best matches, best characters, worst characters. We'll walk through it together. But if you're watching on YouTube, of course, I have my screen up here, so you'll be able to see everything that I'm doing. But I'll also talk you through it. But overall, where are we at here? So currently WWF, we are tracking WWF as the best promotion so far as of May. What is this show? Whatever the last show was. I think May 11th was the last show. Beginning of May, let's say. WWF is currently the best company with 13 points. ECW is the second best company with 8 points. WCW is currently the worst with 1 point. But WWF had been like pretty much sweeping the board up until last show. So that shows how fast things can change. How do these points get calculated? Well, again, we'll get into that as we go along. But we will first grade this pay-per-view from a scale of S to F. S being the best, F being the worst, of course. Now, what are we thinking for this show? So this show, right? Like on paper, dog shit. Absolute dog shit. And in execution, it was pretty shitty as well. However, for whatever reason, it was, and I said this on the podcast, it was pretty engaging for the most part. It had a solid main event. You know what I mean? Like the other title matches were pretty solid. And some of the tag team stuff was a bit intriguing. Most of the Battlebowl was awful. But how do we so I think C at best, right? Definitely no better than a C. So I'm just looking at the previous shows that I've covered. And again, if you're on YouTube, you can look at all the grades that I've given to the previous shows. C, it's not F territory for sure. So it's either C or D. I'm looking at other W's. I give Uncensored a C. Super Brawl's an F. Is it only WCW shows this year? And I guess so. A lot of C's in the ECW. I'm inclined to give this one a C. I think a C is fair, right? Yeah, I don't think it's D territory. I think there was just too much good stuff on this show to be a D, but it just wasn't great. But again, it was just the way it flowed. It wasn't the worst thing I've seen. I'll put it that way. So we'll throw a C at Slamboree. Maybe that's generous. But again, we're kind of graded on a curve too. It's 1996. Like WrestleMania 12 is an A. You know what I mean? So, so yeah. So that's what we got for that. What does that mean? Got a burp. So now we look at the average grade for each company, right? And they've equated to numbers. As of right now, WWF still has the best average grade followed by ECW, and then WCW is still in last, but they're improving, I would say. But WWF is still in the lead in terms of that, which is what matters. So now we come back to the overall scoreboard. Best overall average grade, still WWF, which gives them 6 points. So best pay-per-view, though, still WrestleMania 12. I mean, it's the only one with an A. So that stays the same. Super Brawl 1996, still the worst pay-per-view. So that gives them -1 point. By the way, the best pay-per-view gives WWF 2 points for WrestleMania 12. So in-ring. We're looking at the in-ring here. So right now, tracking ECW as the best in-ring product. And this is just kind of taking into account the entire company, the pay-per-views, the TV shows, all that stuff. I wouldn't say WCW took this over on this show. So we're going to keep it at ECW. Best match, Shawn and Diesel. No match on Slamboree was better than that. So WWF gets that. So they get 2 points. Worst match, tracking it as Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust at In Your House 7. Still the worst. Nothing on this show. Let me review my notes here, just to make sure. I don't think anything on this show was worse than that. Warrior versus Goldust. Maybe like, and by the way, with these, we also got to take into account the scale of the match, the stakes, the spotlight. Like, are some of these first round Lord of the Ring matches worse? Probably, right? But they're just, very small. Like, they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So that's like one thing we got to take into account. The final battle royal, though, I would say, because that's what this pay-per-view is built around. I mean, that was just awful. Like the US title was fine. The Cruiserweight was kind of boring, but it was fine. The world title match was good. That definitely wasn't the worst. The only match on this show that would compete for the worst of the year so far is the Lord of the Ring final battle royal. I don't know if I could put that as worse than Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust, but this battle royal might be a bottom 5 for sure, maybe bottom 3. But DDP's presence in this match saves it, I think, because it got cooking at the end when he was just throwing out diamond cutters on everybody, and then he won, which was fun. So, but yeah, it was bad, but not the worst, in my opinion. So that stays the same. So WWF still has that, so that gives them -1 point. Roster and star power, the next category we're going to look at. Who has the best roster? Who has the most star power? Currently, we're tracking WCW as that. No major changes since the last time I looked at this, I don't think. So, if anything, it's just about to get better with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So, and all the cruiserweights coming in. I think WCW's got a good handle on that so far. So, we'll keep that at WCW. So that gives them 4 points. Wrestler of the Year, Shawn Michaels. This is what we're tracking right now. Who on this show would even compete? Sting, I guess. The Giant, perhaps. Yeah, no one's taken that from Shawn Michaels yet, from WCW at least. So we're gonna keep it at Shawn Michaels. So that gives WWF 2 points. Worst Wrestler of the Year, Hulk Hogan. So I think I've had Hulk the entire year so far. He was not on this show. So the question is there anybody? It's hard to be the worst when you're not there, right? So, is anybody on this show worse? I'm inclined to put Jim Duggan on there. I'm not going to lie to you. Especially, doesn't he have like he becomes a pretty prominent part of the show going forward, doesn't he? At least like in the undercard. Jim Duggan has a strong argument. I'm just kind of looking through my notes to see if there's anybody else that would even come close. Big Bubba, Ice Train. Disco Inferno, perhaps. The Taskmaster. Ooh. Do we put the Taskmaster in there? I kind of want to put the Taskmaster as the worst of the year. I'm gonna be. It would still keep this as WCW, so it wouldn't change the scorecard. Luger's not terrible. Dude, I'm gonna put the Taskmaster. Fuck him. Hulk Hogan at least has star power. I'm just gonna put Kevin Sullivan. Stupid Taskmaster. Kevin Sullivan, worst wrestler of the year, and just because he's been so prominent too, man. It's like, why are we? Whatever. So it keeps it at WCW, so they still got -1 point there, but that's where we are at. Out of ring now. So the best overall out of ring. So we're taking into account gimmicks, characters, promos, storylines, all that stuff, right? Right now we're tracking ECW as the best because they got a lot of good promo or a lot of good storylines cooking with like Douglas and Scorpio. You also got Sandman and Raven. You also got Gangstas and Eliminators. You also got RVD and Sabu. Like they got a lot of good programs going and some pretty solid promos too from ECW. WCW, yeah, nothing on this show would make them rise above what ECW is doing. Yeah, so we're gonna keep that at ECW. So they get 4 points. Best character and storyline. We're tracking Goldust as the best. Who on this show would compete with that? You can argue Ric Flair and Macho Man as a good storyline. I don't think that's better than what Goldust is doing. Or is it? No, because I don't really care about it. I feel like they're two talented guys. It's Ric Flair stole Macho Man's wife and is using his money. Like that's fun, but it just doesn't really have a payoff, I feel like. So other than that, yeah, I can't think of anybody else who would yeah, I think that's pretty much it, right? So yeah, Goldust, we'll keep that one for now. I think we kind of know where it's gonna go like pretty soon though, so it doesn't really matter. But Goldust holds on to it for now, so WWF gets 2 points. Worst character storyline. Dungeon of Doom. So I feel like the Dungeon of the Dungeon of Doom is not super prominent as like a faction anymore. They almost feel more background. Although they are kind of all riddled over the show, like, do you mind? Can I help you? Are you kidding? All right, what do you think the worst character and storyline is, Dwayne? Dungeon of Doom? Probably, right? Probably. We'll just leave it as Dungeon of Doom for now. I don't think anything else on WCW is going to be worse than that, which is the show we just covered, obviously. So, yeah, Dungeon of Doom, nice and easy. So they get -1 point. So that about wraps it up. So no changes to the overall score. We got WWF with the lead of 13 points, ECW with 8 points, and WCW with 1. So that's where we're at. But things will change coming up soon. We got King of the Ring 96 coming up. We got Bash at the Beach coming up. Oh, I got the hickety hups. Bash at the Beach, ECW's cooking some stuff. So big flux in this battle coming up. But for now, we're keeping it an old neutral ski. So that's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for listening, for watching, for tasting. But yeah, that's get on out of here. Scram. Fuck off. I don't know. Thank you guys for listening. I love you all.
Yeah.
I'm hard.
Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started.